All right, microphone check. 1 2 1 2. Let's wait for a few people to roll in. I wonder what everybody's getting done at 7:30 a.m. I'm on the road. That has been the life for the past few years. Driving at 5:30 or 6:30 to get things done. Okay, so the day after Halloween, hope everybody's had enough Reese's peanut butter cups. Oh man, people cannot drive around here. New Jersey. The topic I wanted to cover today is why you need to do carries in your training. And I didn't get away from carries, but I certainly minimized my carries and just lower back work in general throughout the summer and probably the first part of the fall, all of September. But now I've been getting back to those carries every workout. It just makes you feel stronger. And I was looking at a high school workout. I went into a high school weight room. I saw the workout posted up, and there was nothing ground-based. I mean, I guess it was just their upper body day, but it was benching, flies, curls. I don't know what their warm-up looked like, but it was kind of like a really old style of bodybuilding, and nothing really, I hate to use that word functional, it's so played out, but there's nothing functional about it. So even when I'm training athletes, if it's a lower body focused day, they're gonna get upper body calisthenics in. If it's an upper body focused day, they're very likely going to do some carries and sleds. So it's gonna be a full body day regardless, but with just lower volume on one end or the other. That being said, with my own training, yesterday was an upper body focused day, but I squatted heavy Monday, so I wanted to do some lighter deadlifts. I would say speed deadlifts. They weren't that fast. It was 225. I banged out a couple sets of 3. I think I did 4 sets of 3, and I coupled it with one arm row on Matt Wenning's belt squat with a fat grip, a revolving handle, a rolling thunder, if you will. I also did carries yesterday, rack walks. So every time you do a carry, you're doing a deadlifting. You're doing a deadlift for 1 rep. You're doing a power clean for 1 rep. It adds up because you're doing a single for speed before every set. So if you're gonna carry a heavy sandbag or a heavy med ball, sand ball on your shoulder, 100 pounder, 150, 80 pounder, whatever works for you, you're doing a power clean to rip that weight from the ground to the shoulder. That adds up through the course of the week, the month, the year. Also, technique-wise, when you're using a kettlebell, sandbag, the technique is gonna be a lot cleaner than what I've seen a lot of athletes in these high schools doing when it comes to weightlifting, unless you're in these certain states where they've got qualified high school strength coaches. And I don't know if I shared this story with you, but a couple years ago, I was in touch with a high school in South Carolina. I was going to go on an interview for a high school strength coach there. And what they did was, I was basically speaking with the football coach, who was an awesome guy. And he basically said, number one, they have block scheduling. So they had something like 80 minutes, get changed. Maybe it was 90 minutes, but they had block scheduling. All the football players had to take the weightlifting class. If they didn't lift the week of a game, they weren't playing. That's how serious this guy was. And they had something like, I can't remember the number, 8 or 10 or 12 double-sided squat racks, power cages, and they had 35 to 45 kids in a class. And I was in Florida at the time, took a trip with my family, went through the area, didn't kind of get the vibe that this would be the area I'd be raising my kids. So, you know, I reached out to them and I, you know, let them know I don't think this is going to be, you know, the area I'd be moving to with my kids. Nice area. It was South Carolina. I just didn't get the vibe. And long story short, the secretary said, you should have just told us. We would have driven you around and helped you find housing. That's a high school in South Carolina. And the football coach, talk about humble. He said, hey, right now I'm doing the strength conditioning. He's like, but we need a guy like you. I heard about you. I know about you. He was so pumped up. And he's like, you call me with questions. He's like, I'm either with the family at church or at football. And I just thought it was awesome with just how humble he was. He wasn't like, this is how we do it. I'm the guy. I do it. And I've found in South and North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, and some places in Florida, they've got collegiate level strength and conditioning coaches in the high schools. And if you're going to train 35 to 45 kids, you better be highly structured. You better be highly organized. You better understand how to make those workouts productive. And in those bigger numbers, you especially need to simplify things or have a very efficient teaching model, learning model for those kids. But carries would have been a huge part of it. And there's so many ways we could carry. We've got dumbbells, kettlebells, sandbags, sandballs, carrying overhead, carrying in the rack position, keg carries across the chest or the stomach. I don't like doing kegs overhead. Anything overhead is going to be a lighter carry. Kettlebells or dumbbells preferably. Sometimes just a one-arm overhead carry to get that cross angular loading pattern so it hits the body from a different angle, which is exactly what happens in sports. Your body is getting worked very rarely from this perfectly loaded straight ahead position. There's a lot of angles and in between muscles that are getting worked. So two things I'm covering here: the power of carries and the respect of strength in certain areas of the world, right? We could take Russia, for example. Playgrounds everywhere. Playgrounds don't get removed in Russia when a kid falls down and breaks his or her arm. But in a lot of states, you know, they were removing at the schools playgrounds because they didn't want people outside the school playing on them, or a kid gets injured on the playground and they remove it. Which, if somebody's getting hurt on something, it is a sign that they need to get better at it. They need to get trained up to that thing. So, strength in certain places of the world is respected, and then in other places, it's understood how to get strong, how to get people strong, how to get yourself strong, how to live strong. And I highly recommend that if you're not in a place that respects and understands strength, then you either create that in your environment or you go and find it. So you have two options. None of those options have to do with make an excuse about it. The two options are build it yourself. Second option, find it. Find the like-minded people. Find the environment where people are being about it rather than talking about it. In your training this week, I highly recommend get in the carries 3 times a week. Farmer walks with dumbbells or kettlebells. Sometimes we take bands and loop them through the kettlebells to get that oscillating feel for the farmer walk. Rack walks are tremendous. Offset carries, I love. One in the rack, one in the farmer position, or 2 different weights in the same position. So 106-pound kettlebell, 70-pound kettlebell in the other hand. 1 kettlebell overhead, 1 in the rack. 1 dumbbell in one hand, a dumbbell in one hand for the farmer walk, kettlebell in the other hand. 2 different objects. Carry 50 to 100 feet, squat it down with a flat back, turn around. Now the hands have the different object. Deadlift it up, carry it back. Carries and finding places that respect strength. That way, your normal is always about being strong. Can you imagine those of you that are really into training, which is likely anybody watching this, you go to a place where people just talk down on being strong. They talk like they did in the 80s. All that muscle will turn to flab once you stop training. Or lifting weights, you're gonna stunt your growth. I'm like 5'10", 5'10 and a half. I don't think there's ever been a study, nor would it be ethical to see, hey, let's have these kids lift heavy weights and they're gonna get short. In other countries, these weightlifters are pulled as model athletes. They oftentimes don't go into it just because that was what mommy and daddy wanted. That was their choice. You're pulled in it by your body structure. Your body is great for boxing or swimming, or you're tall, you're basketball or volleyball, track and field, and so forth. America is different. It's what mom and dad tell the kids to do. So build it, make it happen, don't make excuses, hit those carries. Strength is a choice, as always. UndergroundStrengthCoach.com has been updated. It's been getting updated every month since 2005. This February 2019 will be, how many years is that? 14. 14 years of content in there. Seminars I recorded, DVDs that I used to sell are now streaming videos, ebooks, so much stuff I can't even tell you, man. Talk to you guys later. I can't read the comments. I'm driving to have an awesome day at the school. It's going to be 70-something degrees today. It's great to have the warm weather back, but I do smell wrestling season in the air. I do. Keep working, guys. Live the code 365. Success takes no vacation. I'm out.